Hello, everybody. How are you? Welcome to another edition of the Para OR Normal Guyz. We have a pretty good lineup tonight. I think our first guest is running late or something. I don't know. We'll discuss that in a minute. But let's catch up on some things that have been happening. So you can find me, Sportcat, Tuesdays and Thursdays from noon to 2 p.m. spinning the classic rock on Thin Line Rock radio station. So make sure to check that out. We are also affiliated with, of course, Yerg's Radio. You can catch our shows there, yergsradio.com. And we now are affiliated with WDJY out of Atlanta, Georgia, and with Radio Fairfax Cable Channel 37. So look for those places. We're all over the place. Yergs plays our shows on Rewind, so you can catch us there. Of course, you can catch us on YouTube. We're kind of everywhere. We're kind of a big deal. So let's see who I have backstage here. I have the wonderful and beautiful Miss Dina.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm wearing my patch. Not really. I was put it on me, but
well, that's cool.
nice.
I like it. Sexy. Should have sent you two. You could have used them as pasties.
I could have. You should have. Say goodnight to Wyatt.
Good night, Wyatt. I hope you're having a great night's sleep. I didn't realize that my grandson was watching. Good night, Wyatt. Get you some rest.
Wyatt.
You come play on the new microphone tomorrow. I'm sure you will.
Sleepy.
Yeah, go to sleep, Wyatt. Otherwise, you'll hear him blood-curdling screaming in the back.
No.
Yeah. Oh, I see how it is.
Wendell.
Oh, he did say hello to me. Okay. All right. I was about to say, Wendell, my number one fan, my number one stalker, and but he still has yet to buy our merchandise.
He still has yet to know how to spell my name.
It's true, and it is kind of on the screen there.
I know.
It's kind of hard to miss. One thing I didn't do, I did not open up the phone lines.
Oh my
and
goodness.
Mr. Ross will have a conniption fit if I don't do that. So let me find the button for that. I got too many buttons over here, Dina.
No. We definitely need some calls tonight if our guest is
yeah,
I
haven't heard back from him, but usually I don't know. It's sometimes so hard to he was scheduled in December, so I mean he could have forgot, but yet I sent messages. So. Yeah. I'm the one that keeps calling you Warren. You're right.
Well, poor Warren. He's on the other end because we call him Wendell.
Thank God we don't have a Wayne. So
yeah.
Well, Wayne, I'm screwed. So
Yep.
Let's see here. Let me put the phone number up. Yeah, usually I'll get a message or something, email back. I always tell them that I'm going to send them the link the night of the show. If I send it too early, they lose it.
Yeah.
If I don't send it the night of the show, they don't. I don't know. There's no happy answer sometimes.
What a time zone is he in?
He's in Pennsylvania, so it's our time zone.
Be the same. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll probably be really wired. I went to take a vape, and apparently I overjuiced it, and I drank a gallon of juice. So.
Oh, that's fun.
So.
I'll do that. If I spill it, I'll have it on my finger or something. Lick it.
Don't say that, Tina. Don't say
shut
that.
Up. Shut up. Don't be weird.
Okay.
Make me blush.
You blush. My YouTube was scaring me a little bit, so because it was froze. I'm like, what? Are we froze? But I had it paused.
Big goof.
All right, let's see. It is currently 9:09 Eastern Time. The phone number to call us is 1-888-88-YERGZ. That's 1-888-88-YERGZ. So I know for our second part of the show tonight, he is definitely going to be here. Well, I shouldn't say definitely. Nothing's ever permanent in radio, especially live radio. He is the VOA chief. Oh, what is his chief?
Folks,
I said it 10 times today.
You have.
Chief Voice of America, Chief White House Correspondent. That's
There
it.
you
I'm
go.
it eventually.
A spokesperson. That's not right.
Pull it out. Yeah. Well, I guess he's a spokesperson for the VOA. I mean,
correct. I think.
But yeah, so he's on tap. I did not get to finish the whole book through. I made it through chapter 17. I think I was working on 18 when I fell asleep. So it's a great book, a great story. So make sure, if you don't want to call now and talk to us, which you're more than welcome to, you definitely want to call in and talk to him, because I think he's going to have some great stories behind the curtain, so to speak. So actually, I think that's the name of his book. So, but 1-888-88-YERGZ is the number to call us. The phone lines are open. My messenger is up if you want to. It is somewhere. If you want to shoot me a message. Yeah, so everything's up and running. I got my little soundboard up and going. It's working. So, oh, we had a major when I installed this new mic, and you're probably going to see me playing with it the whole show.
Yeah.
We had a major, like, everything decided it wasn't going to work.
Oh, that's great.
Like, soundboard didn't work, mixer didn't work, microphone didn't work, and I'm like, oh Jesus. I have a good technical support person, my son, so he's like, all right, hold on, we got this. So got it all.
He's good.
And he is very good. He keeps Ross running too some days.
Yeah.
He got me some new little features I didn't even know about. So I can,
cool.
Of course, I had my censor button, but I can now push the button. Hold on, let's see if I can do this. And Dina, break. I should be in a different voice.
So.
Oh, now you are.
Oh, now I am. I wasn't before. So.
No.
Breaker 1. Maybe I didn't hit the button. So breaker 1.
So now I should be back to normal. I can change it to anything, but that's just the default one.
That's pretty cool. Actually.
So yeah, he's got it one button. Yeah, you're exactly correct. I don't work at all. I show up 3-4 hours a week and make all this magic happen. You're right.
He works his butt off.
Oh my God, if only knew. So yeah, the Thin Line Rock radio station. I was terrified going into that, Dina.
Could imagine.
I talk to you, I talk to our guests, I talk to other people, and the BS just kind of rolls. I'm talking to myself now.
Oh no. That's the only thing I would be terrified about, because I'd be like,
And I'm trying to think, all right, well, what do DJs usually do? I'm like, all right, well, they tell you about the first and last song they played, and they tell you time, date, weather, traffic, whatever. I can't do that on an internet radio station. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, It's like, well, I can always tell them I know about the song. I can tell them a little story or something. And after about the first, 3 minutes, because it's broken up into parts, it started to feel more natural.
Yeah.
Getting the button pushing, that's still to be determined. That and adjusting my mic. So I got another thing coming from a mic, so that should keep me from over deviating and
good.
Breathing. I hate breathing into the microphone. So, well, you always get an intro into the White House Correspondent. So what He has conversations with himself. Yes, I did. So, Wendell, number one fan,
Okay.
Thin Line Rock radio station tomorrow at 2:00 or at noon to 2. I'm spinning the record, so I want you to dial it up and listen. I want some honest opinion and feedback. I'm just going to be upfront and say that probably my first show kind of sucked, but I'm getting the bells and whistles, and it actually started coming a little bit more natural, if that's a way of describing it, because
Yeah.
it was like, okay, well, I knew that song, I know this song, and I want to tell them this, so let's just make it up as I go. So
Yeah.
some people type up a script. The only thing I would like type up is if I found out something about the song I didn't know. I'd put it like on a little word pad over. Oh, you're too busy for me. I see how it is, Warren.
What are you doing? Are you with Bobby?
So, yeah, are you with Bobby? Good Lord. Number one fan, he's too busy for me. Oh, Lord. It started just coming natural and flowing, and I'm going to spend more time this week picking my music than I did last week. I just picked like, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 songs, and it's like, let the computer pick or however.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to spend a little more time doing that. But otherwise, it went pretty cool. It was pretty cool. They're great people over there. They're as easy to work with as Yerg's Radio is. I mean, they don't let me take over their radio station like Yerg's does, but I only get 2 hours every 2 days, 2 days a week. But they weren't, don't say this, don't do that, don't, so whatever. So I was excited, that I could, pimp the other places I'm at, because, whoa, that sounded like a Bigfoot in my house, because we are kind of a big deal. That's Junior down there.
Yeah.
So yeah, remember to listen to us on Fairfax Radio Fairfax cable channel 37. We are on WDJY, and of course we're on yergsradio.com live, and he plays this all back. He's going to start I think he's going to start playing back the Grinning Guardian Gang shows, because they're picking up a lot of traction. So
Yeah.
And Thin Line Rock Radio really likes them a lot, so I'm all about that. So wrong button. So yeah, it's gonna be a good thing. I think we're gonna grow. There's some more markets I'm looking at. We may become TV famous in Hollywood soon. Saying kind of
Hollywood. Can we get a star on the Walk of Fame, maybe?
I'm probably going to be in Sacramento or somewhere. You won't have Wendell. What kind of person leaves their? Why are you abandoning me, Wendell? Good Lord!
In the woods.
He's going in the woods.
Will you be back by Saturday?
He better. He's going to go type up notes and add. Oh, that's Ross. I was thinking that was Wendell. It's like, what is Wendell talking about? Yeah, basically that's all I did was ad-libbed, and it started to come natural. Some of the songs I didn't know, and you're not gonna know every song, right. And especially some of the new rock, because typically when I'm on the road in the car, I only play XM, Sirius XM, and I keep it locked in on EDM. Electronic dance music. So I'm not really
dance music. What the heck?
That's my go-to jam.
Are you kidding me?
No, that's like probably. Haven't you noticed by the interest all my shows? Yeah, that's my go-to jam. I mean, this isn't really like complete EDM, but
no, it's not.
Got some to it. It's electronic music.
A little bit.
No, I don't know. I just like the loud upbeat. I think it helps with the depression. Really, I think was what
maybe it does. Yeah.
So that's all really I listen to besides for podcasts. I listen to other shows, listen to other people to pick up tips and pointers, but
You could play some Mercy Lights on there.
Oh, well, yeah. Let me. Well, do they have an album contract?
No, they're indie.
Oh, okay. We could talk about that because I'm trying to get out on there too. So yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
I think all we gotta do is send them a CD. If they're not in a record contract, they will be live in my studio.
All right.
They'll be in my bedroom here kicking their jams.
We could do that.
Yeah.
Seriously, they'll come down there.
Do it perfect time.
Huh?
Do it when Wyatt's asleep. That would be perfect timing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it's funny. He's probably watching me on the big screen.
Oh, he probably is.
They put a widescreen TV in his bedroom. I'm not sure why, but I didn't.
Really?
I had a little black and white TV when I was like 14.
Yeah.
Until then, it was radio. But
yeah.
So he's probably got us up while he's trying to go to sleep. So.
Oh, bless his heart. Go to sleep, little Wyatt. We could sing him a bedtime song. Tell him a bedtime story.
I don't think I have maybe a radio voice, but not a singing voice. So
we can lull him to sleep with how boring we are.
Yeah, no, that's true. I was singing along to some of the songs as I was being introed, listening to myself. I'm like, Jesus, you're way off key. That sounds like a cat dragging his nails across a chalkboard.
Hey, I used to sing "You Are My Sunshine" to Katie, and she would put her hand over my mouth.
That's funny.
That's bad.
Yeah.
She would be like, stop.
Mom, I've had enough of that.
She hated it when I sang. She didn't mind it when sometimes, but she hated that song. And every time I sang it to her, she would put her hand right like over my mouth. She's like, stop singing that.
That's funny. That's funny. Kids do the darndest thing. So.
Oh, it used to break my heart.
I don't think I sent you the picture. I'll have to send it to you. Of it was the other microphone with the fuzzy thing. Wyatt has my headphones on. He has the microphone pushed down to his mouth, and he's just singing away because he could hear me. You know, he turned and looked at me as I was taking the picture. It's kind of this cool shot. So,
oh, it's so cool.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Remind me.
Yeah, I do.
He likes to terrorize me, and I don't want him to mess with the new microphone too much. The old one, I didn't mind. I mean, yeah, still was a good mic, but
yeah,
I had it for a while. But this one's like the Cadillac new one, so
right.
Another 2 years, he'll probably have it. Hell, in 2 years, he'll probably have my whole empire. So
he probably will.
Yeah. None of the other kids wants it. Code red emergency. Pentagon in panic. Biden briefed. What?
What the heck's that?
He's trigger mass panic. Oh, it's a Canadian prepper. He's trying to figure out ways for us to die today.
Oh my goodness.
I like listening to the Canadian prepper, but every day he's doom and gloom, and we're all going to die.
I don't like that doom and gloom stuff.
I try and keep up with the important stuff, but
well, yeah, but every time it's like, oh, it's a panic. Oh, it's a panic, and then when it's a real panic, it's like it's just prepper.
There's just one guy I've watched a couple times. I don't know that I subscribe to him, but every time he says he's going to his bunker. I'm like, dude, if you're why the hell are you still broadcasting? Should you be in your bunker? You've said times now you're going to your bunker. So
yeah.
If one of my shows gets canceled or I change routes, that will be my next show. The reason we didn't die today.
Because we didn't die today, or what?
Yeah. Why we didn't die today? Because all these prepper shows every day tell you you're going to die today because of this. There's a nuke going off under the ocean. Fukushima's killed all the fish. You know, the president's airborne in the nuclear plant. You know, they got all this shit they're telling you. And it's like none of it happened.
Right. Right.
So there's still adults in charge of some things. I mean, I assume that the commander in chief at some point in time, if there was an emergency, somebody would give him a Viagra and some Adderall, maybe let him hit a little Hunter Biden's toot, and he'd be raring to go. We'll bomb bomb the hell out of somebody then. So I'm sure
not
that. Damn it! I pushed the wrong button.
Curses.
That's right. So hopefully there's adults in charge somewhere that can keep all this from happening.
Yeah. I'd like to. Yeah, you should do it like it should be named "Be happy we didn't die today," or "I'm happy we didn't die today."
Exactly. Tell the real stories of what's going on, you know.
Yeah.
Code Red. Russia's got a space nuke, or I don't know how the headline scanned across. It's a Code Red. I don't know.
Stand down. Stand down.
I think we're going to be okay. Maybe that's where our guest is. Maybe he's in his bunker.
Oh, maybe.
So
he may have had to chase a UFO or what are they called? PE.
Aerial. What is it?
AP. No, that's not APEs. It's
unidentified aerial phenomenon. UAP.
UAPs. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like that. I'd rather call them UFOs.
These kids today don't like our words.
Why do they change them? It drives me crazy. Then I can't remember what the hell they're called.
I have a theory on that. I think it's so they could write more books.
It could be.
I mean, I really do, because it means the same dang thing.
It does.
So
it's ridiculous.
Why do we change the word? I don't know. We'll ask Steven when he comes in.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's the same thing.
I just want to be a little bit fancier. We're going to change the definition of something because it doesn't sound as good. I mean, it sounds better than what you old people, what you boomers had. Then we're not even boomers.
At BobbyDizzle.com. So.
Well, we're not.
No, I'm not a boomer.
I'm not either.
It's Twitter. Okay. Something going on in Twitter world? I don't know.
There you go. UFFing.
Exactly. So Ross could tell if there was ever any hovering directly above the White House.
It may be. It is Twitter. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It is what's changed the world.
Yeah.
It's Elon Musk.
That's not Elon.
That's not Elon? Who's that?
It's not Elon himself. It's the goobers on Twitter.
Goobers. I don't know. There's plenty of them on YouTube.
Yeah, but there's more on Twitter.
I could scan. Well, yeah, there are. I probably haven't looked for them.
Or actually, they have more like that instead of just.
For our radio audience, can you describe that?
Yes, it's my hands making motion, mouthing. You know how like open, close, open, close, open, close. They have more back and forth.
Maybe we are going to die. I don't know. This show.
Shut up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Because no, it's still 3. And I don't know. Twitter's crazy. So.
It's X.
Okay, so Steven's tuned in. He says, "I'm VOA's chief national correspondent and former White House correspondent."
I'm so sorry. So sorry.
And he is not speaking on behalf of the VOA, the White House,
correct,
any USA global media. I don't know. He's talking for himself.
Thank you. If
which is what we
Glenn,
prefer. So,
Glenn is like I am, we have to have it written down in front of us or we cannot remember. So
yeah, and
whatever you tell us is safe with
especially you,
locked
you'll
in
forget.
here.
My 3 viewers, and he's one of them. Steve, if you want to log in early, you're more than welcome to, because it doesn't look like my other guest has showed up. And once you click on the link, it brings you backstage. You put in your name, how you want it to appear, and it sets your mic and cam, and you just come right on in. So, or you come backstage, but yes, for the legal people, he is not speaking on behalf of the White House, the Commander in Chief, the VOA, any news agency, any lawyer, maybe not even me. I don't know. I did wear my Roswell shirt for him, though. So, you know, what happened in Roswell stays in Roswell. Oh, wait a minute. Did not happen. So,
Oh.
I think it's, yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's got the order of the night.
It'll roll about 5 minutes or so.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I realize I'm being silly. You don't represent any of those people. You could come in here as a ham radio operator as far as I'm concerned. So just come on in.
Don't come in as a ham, just come in as a person.
Well, yeah.
I'm echoing. It's driving me crazy. I don't know where it's coming from.
Between your ears?
Probably. You know what? I've got to get the microphone. I'm gonna order it tomorrow.
It makes a big difference with I mean, the other mic I had was great, but such like noise it was making. But this one is, I don't want to say it's more sensitive, but it's, whereas the other one was like I could turn and stuff, pick up further.
Yeah.
This was more localized, like right in front of you. So it's like I almost have to eat the microphone, I feel like. So
eat the mic.
Yeah. So I ordered I couldn't order my big fuzzy ball for it, so I got a bigger windscreen because I was watching on and actually Steven could probably tell me about this stuff. I was watching some videos on YouTube, and the guy was taking a flashlight and putting it inside the windscreen. And he was saying, if you could see the light, that's air coming in. He says, you want to get one that you can't see the light through. So I was like,
oh, really?
That kind of makes sense.
I'm sorry. Does your mic have a foam on top of it?
Yeah, it does.
So you're still going to get a windscreen?
Yeah, because this one is it's so sensitive. With me having to be so close, I'm subconscious about breathing into it because it's going to sound like a dragon exhaling. So
okay.
So it won't eliminate the noise, but it'll dampen it. So, but the only thing I didn't like is only had one color. It was gray. So wasn't really happy about that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to I'll probably experiment with some more. So just to see. I couldn't find a yellow one or an orange one. So
what, a top foam one?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had one on
not one that was rated high enough though. So I'm hoping your clicking wasn't the reason I spent this much money on a microphone.
What? My clicking?
You're clicking, yeah. I'm thinking, I'm hoping her clicking wasn't.
I'm clicking again?
You were right then, yeah.
Oh, hold on. Hold on.
Wow, thanks. I appreciate that. Window can hide my face.
Hold on.
Uh-oh. She's done broke it now. So she's throwing things across the room. Yeah, it's a good screen. It's
I think that's
a much better one. Okay. I don't know what you did, but
I unplugged it. Back. Still echoing.
I can't hear it though this time.
Okay, as long as you can't hear it.
Yeah, it'll be all right. And he is when I say he, the boss man, Ross man, he is getting, they call them flags. They go around the mic like the news reporters have, when they jam the mic out there and it says WUSA or WDJY or whatever. So he's found a place that makes them. So I'm hoping that I can get one like with my logo on it. So if it's not too expensive, but otherwise you'll just see that my mic is made by Shure. So I'm not paid to endorse it. I don't speak for them either, legally or otherwise.
I hear that clicking now. Do you still hear our clicking?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, you need the boom mic.
Yeah, definitely.
You gotta bite the bullet. You're on enough shows and getting popular enough.
I know. Let me destroy it right now.
It sucks. I liked my little account, and then I got the boom, and I was like, I really like this. So, yeah. It'll just take you a while to get used to it. And, the way I've got mine mounted, it's always coming in from one side of the screen or the other. And I moved it from this side over, the right side over to the left, so that now I have a pretty much unobstructed view of this screen, and it can get lower because it doesn't have to go over the monitor. It's beside the monitor. So,
yeah.
In fact, I think there's an extension where I could actually make it go lower, but I'm doing enough experimenting for the moment. And Kyle had me buy new cables. The cables have filters in them that do something fancy. I don't know what exactly. He just told me I needed to buy it, and I said yes. So
okay. I think I can get away without getting
a boom.
No, the wind thing. If I just get the wind screen, like the foam.
Yeah. Everybody's a little bit different. I think the reason I'm so subconscious about it is because I have the volume turned up so high because of me being around fire trucks and jets.
You're deaf?
I feel like I can't hear myself being projected.
Oh, gotcha.
So he said that he sees her headset and he wants to place his order for the flag company. Let me know. We'll get a cat put on the side of that thing or the Paranormal Guyz logo, something.
See my headset?
Yeah, he said he sees it. I don't know. I guess he's talking about he's shopping right now. You know him. He's always looking like me for the newest toy. That's what he said. Chat. I don't know. What it is. Here. Yeah,
I love my headset.
I like your headset too. I think he's just got a short in it somewhere.
I think it does too. And they do have those little things you can put on the end here.
Yeah. I think actually Brenda has one. McDonald's headset.
Do what?
He said you have the McDonald's headset.
Oh, shut up. Turkey.
Let's see here. Let's see. I'll share this. I posted this the other night, and that shows we're all we are. We are everywhere.
Nice.
Cool. Well, as I was doing that, I heard in my headset that Steve has joined us. So let me get him out here. Get everything positioned around so I don't look too goofy. Let's see. All right. So, Steve, hope you're ready. I'm bringing you out. Steve is speaking for no one but himself.
Hello, Steve.
Hey, Steve. How are you, my friend?
Good evening. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm still awake.
Me too. Or awake again.
Good thing
you're keeping me up past my bedtime.
Oh no.
Well, I'm sorry. Well, from me reading your book, you're quite a busy man, and you've had an adventurous life. Goodness gracious, you've been around the world 2 or 3 times. You're not only a media person, you're a ham radio operator. you're a jack of all trades. You're like the pocket knives of communications.
A dilettante, jack of all trades, master of none, right?
Exactly. So tell us a little bit. You've got a book coming out, and tell us a little bit about it. I've only made it through chapter 17. It's awesome. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's got a little bit of everything. When I was working in the White House as VOA's bureau chief for 4 years and 8 months, all of the Trump administration and the first 8 months of the Biden administration, a lot of people said I should write a book. And I said, absolutely not. There's probably about 50 people sitting in the White House press room, especially during around the end of the Trump administration, who were all going to write books. And I said, I have nothing to add. But what I realized from going out and doing public speaking, I would get the same questions over and over again, which is, what is the president really like? What is it like to fly on Air Force One? And something that was a bit more serious is I realized that people really don't understand how the sausage is made, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of books about reporters that cover the White House, and they'll give you all these scandalous details, maybe about something they didn't report while they were in the White House, and now they are doing the big reveal for their book. My book is not like that. There's nothing I held back really, except for a couple of anecdotes, perhaps. But it shows you how the sausage is made and how covering the White House, even in this very tumultuous era, a lot of it is very mundane. There's a lot of time of sitting around waiting for things to happen. And then all of a sudden you go from, like a drag racer, you go from 0 to 200 in an instant, and the adrenaline is pumping, and you're hoping you can stay in control of the vehicle and don't burst into flames. So that's primarily, I was thinking of sort of journalism students, or just sort of the armchair enthusiast, to give them an idea of what it's really like behind the scenes, and what it's like when things unexpected happen as well.
They change fast. The dynamics are pretty incredible. I grew up around Washington, D.C., so I won't say an insider's view, but if you grew up, was from Mount Vernon. If you grow up in that area, especially near Fort Belvoir Army Base, you meet people. You meet kids or parents and stuff. So over the years, I've met people that were gardeners or landscapers, or I know a couple Secret Service agents from my friends in law enforcement and stuff. So I kind of had an inside view to some of it. I mean, it wasn't like I knew everything that was going on, but it was always cool. It was, to me, it was always fascinating to find out, what's going on there. And you're right, a lot of people don't realize some of the stuff that goes on.
Well, I think that's one thing I mentioned up front, that even if you're a gardener or working in the kitchen at the White House, it's unique. You are a part of American history. It is a privilege to be there, and people are fascinated by what goes on inside the White House.
When you first went inside the White House, and that was one thing that Ross, he's the person that operates the internet radio station for me. He was a Secret Service agent. He helped give me perspective on the actual White House is divided into parts, which a lot of people don't realize. Were you surprised at how small some of the quarters were?
Absolutely. Because if you had watched TV shows or movies, I remember watching The West Wing, and you think there's a lot of room to roam. And the correspondents who are there, who have a press pass, we are kept in a very limited area. It's essentially part of the West Wing, the press booths. I called ours a double wide because it was literally this, about this wide. You could barely fit two people in there. And that was considered luxurious space because a lot of reporters don't have a booth at the White House. Some of them even share a chair in the press briefing room, and then other people just have to stand. So there's a very limited space, and the press booths downstairs where we were at, I think, was the deep end of John Kennedy's swimming pool, which Nixon got rid of. And we're also allowed to roam on a little bit of the driveway of the north lawn. And there's also an area right there called Pebble Beach. That's where the tents are that the TV networks do their live shots from. And you can go into the press offices. And on occasion, if you're part of the rotational pool, the select set of a dozen or so reporters every day that cover the president up close, then you can go in when there's an event to the Oval Office, the Roosevelt Room, the Cabinet Room, and then when the president departs or is coming in on Marine One, we go out to the South Lawn. And the only time that I've been in other parts of the White House really have been for the annual Christmas party. And my favorite room was the library.
Oh, yeah. But that's nice.
Yeah, and when each president comes in, they get to change a lot of it around how they like it. So it's also, well, if you have a 4-year president or 8-year, you've got a little bit of change there too. So you were there during at least 2 administrations. What kind of changes do they really make in there? Is it just painting and patching, putting new carpet down, or do they go nuts and change everything?
Well, I think every president changes the decor in the Oval Office to some degree, the carpeting, the drapes, which desk they want to have. The popular desk for many presidents is the Resolute desk, which was a gift from Queen Victoria, so probably the most iconic piece of American furniture. And then the residence, which we don't get to see, I think very rarely are any reporters allowed in the residence. And the First Lady usually puts her touches on different parts of the White House. Of course, Jacqueline Kennedy was the famous First Lady who did a huge makeover and really is responsible for returning a lot of the 19th century furniture that had been scattered all over the country. It was pretty much a mess, I guess, when the Kennedys moved in. There was a big renovation during the Truman administration, and I don't know if you've ever been out to the Gettysburg farm of President Eisenhower, Mamie and Ike's place. Very simple, very rustic. And so I don't think Mamie Eisenhower was really into the sort of high fashion or whatever that Jackie Kennedy was more akin to redecorating in that sort of vein when she came in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I know that, well, she also was the one that had the rose garden put in, I believe, wasn't she?
I believe so. And that's another thing that changes from administration to administration. I know there was some criticism of Melania Trump's redoing of the Rose Garden, which we also go out there occasionally when there are news conferences, and it is a very nice part of the White House, especially in spring when everything's blooming.
Yeah. It's very pretty there in spring anyway. With all the cherry blossoms and all that.
And I think there are tours. I think there's a spring and fall tour for the public. And so if you happen to live in the Washington, D.C. area or happen to be visiting at those particular times, I don't think it's that difficult to get tickets for those tours. And there's a couple other public events. There's the Easter egg roll, where a lot of school kids are invited in, and a few other activities. So, and there are White House tours, of course. But I highly recommend anybody visiting
Yeah.
Washington to try to get a tour of the White House.
Mm-hmm.
I was a elementary student when we went over from Fairfax, took a tour, so it's been a couple days for me.
I went on the safety patrol too when I was like in 5th grade.
New Year safety.
Yeah.
I'm learning something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was also surprised how small the grounds were because you look at it on the map and you think it's a pretty big area, but it's not. I mean, their yard ain't that big.
It's big enough to land a helicopter in the backyard,
Mhm.
though.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. That's true. You never got to ride Marine One, did you? Or it wouldn't be Marine One. I guess.
I would say that is my one unfulfilled goal of my time at the White House. And there's actually a new Marine One, I think, going into service. And of course, any helicopter that the president rides on is Marine One, as any plane he's on is Air Force One. So there are multiple aircraft that get those call signs. But very, very few reporters have ever been on Marine One. The press pool goes on Air Force One when the president travels, but not on Marine One.
Yeah.
We either basically you would have a pool of reporters that would be pre-positioned out at Andrews Air Force Base to get on Air Force One, while there would be another set of reporters still at the White House. And one thing that President Trump always used to say when he was departing on Marine One, he would say, "I'll see some of you on the plane in a few minutes," as if we were teleporting ourselves somehow from the White House grounds out to Andrews. It was always a separate group but he never seemed to realize that.
He didn't pay attention, I guess.
Well, I do think that would be probably one of the most beautiful views going over DC.
Mhm.
I think, of course, I'm probably partial, but the helicopter ride up the Potomac to Mount Vernon, I think that would just be gorgeous. So, of course, that's limited, or not limited, restricted airspace, so you can't normally find that.
When we've been in the traveling pool with the presidents on trips to other places, including New York City, usually the Marines provide one of those Osprey tilt rotor aircraft, which are really fascinating to be in. So I've seen some amazing views of New York City via helicopter a number of times. And I should also stress that when we're on Marine, on Osprey, for example, or on Air Force One, those aren't free rides. Our news organizations are paying for those trips. So just so people know, you pay your way. Doesn't come out of my pocket, but it comes out of somebody. In my case, the Voice of America is part of the U.S. government, so I'm riding on the taxpayers' dime, or more than a few dimes, I guess. But I hope we're giving everybody their money's worth.
Yeah.
So you get to ride on an Osprey. Oh, I'm jealous.
I've probably been on the Ospreys more than a dozen times because that was the typical transport when we could not be in, when there wasn't a motorcade, when the president was going up in a helicopter, then we would be in an Osprey to follow him to where he was going.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because when he went to Mount Vernon, I'm not sure if it was Obama or Trump. They both may have, but I saw him land the Osprey at George Washington's home, Mount Vernon, and that was just awesome. So, I'm so jealous. I got somebody else backstage here who wants to come in here. You probably recognize this ugly fella.
Hey, Mike.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Hi, Steve.
Hello, Mike.
I saw you down at College Park at Lido's at the Capitol Hills.
Oh, the Capitol Hill Monitors Group. That was
Yep.
a good bunch, very knowledgeable group of folks, and was very happy to speak to them. Although it was the first time I've ever made public remarks in a pizza parlor.
I know. It's kind of odd why we meet there, but it always seems to work. So we've been there for a few years now. So I really enjoyed your presentation. And when I heard you were coming on, I said, oh, I want to hear it again. Bring me back on. Bring me
Well,
back
I
on.
think we're going to talk about slightly different things.
Well, that's perfect. That's even better.
On this program.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Whatever
Alan
you
was-
throw out there, I'll try to answer.
Yeah,
Cool.
gotcha.
Alan was the one that told me I needed to get you on the show. So yeah, I live in Atlanta now, so I can't make it up there as often, except to visit family occasionally. But I'll always call it home. Mount Vernon will always be home. I don't know. It's just it's almost like it's a part of your DNA if you're a Virginian.
I love visiting Mount Vernon. That's another thing that I recommend to anybody who's visiting the area to see George Washington's home, and it is and they've done a fantastic job, I think, over the recent decades, really putting a lot of interpretive exhibits on the grounds there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. My mom actually worked there, so I used to be able to go on at nighttime and see it when it was empty. And I didn't go inside the building, but it was lit up and stuff. And I've seen the phantom lights they talk about inside Mount Vernon from outside.
Very nice.
So, yeah. Mount Vernon is always fun. I think, like you, Steve, I'm kind of history buff for that type of thing. Learning about the presidents and stuff. Like you said, how the sausage is made. So I think I've been kind of a nerd all my life about it. I chose, unfortunately, to be a firefighter paramedic. I didn't get the career where I could go around the world and stuff. You've been in so many dangerous places.
It's all relative, right?
Yeah. Well, I was reading in your boots when you came back from Japan after Fukushima, setting off the Geiger alert. That would have freaked me out. Hazmat tech, knowing what I know. At the time, you didn't realize that it was as bad as what it really was because the Japanese government wasn't forthcoming. So,
well, yeah, I was this into context. I was, I think, one of the first reporters, certainly one of the first non-Japanese reporters that got into Fukushima and stayed there for a period of time. And I was there when the reactors were basically suffering the meltdowns. And you're right, we did not know how serious it was at the time. But one thing I was able to do, I had lived in Japan previous to that, and I can read a modest amount of Japanese. And so the local TV station at noon every day had a scroll across the bottom of the screen displaying the radiation readings for each of the municipalities in the area. And so I was reading that and putting it on Twitter and did not realize that this was not going out on the national news, even in Japan.
Oh, wow.
And fortunately, I had a pretty early schooling in nuclear radiation because I started out my career in Las Vegas, which was close to the Nevada test site, where there were, after the test ban treaty in the early 1960s, the tests went from above ground, where they really were spewing radiation all around the western United States, to underground. But there was a test called Bainbury, that had, I think it was 1970 when that happened. Somebody can double check. And it vented, which meant it didn't stay underground, and it irradiated some people above ground at the Nevada test site, including a couple of security guards that worked for Wackenhut. And they died of acute myeloid leukemia, and their widows sued the federal government. And that first trial in Las Vegas, I covered that. I was a very young reporter, and that because you had the prosecution and the defense bringing in expert witnesses to testify. I learned a lot about radiation, and I learned there are different types of radiation, and of course, if you fly on an airplane, you get exposed to some sort of radiation. And so you have to understand what it means, exposure to radiation and radioactivity and alpha, beta, gamma waves and all that. So I was keeping an eye on the readings, and I contacted one of my fellow ham radio operators in California, Paul Ryak, a physician, and I explained to him what was happening and what the radiation readings were and the contamination of the drinking water and all that. And he asked me how old I was, and I told him. He says, don't worry about it. Before you get a thyroid cancer, you'll be dead of something else. So after that, I didn't worry about it too much.
Well, many people didn't realize that our government tested above the ground. They tested in the air. One person wanted to nuke the ozone. I think somebody got that idea out of their head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talk a little bit about this in my book, which meanders into, I think, some of the subjects you're interested in on this show, such as Area 51 and Roswell and such. But I do talk about the above ground testing program, and again, how that was a very early education for me, that don't believe everything the government's telling you. And and there was a movie that was shot in Utah some months after a nuclear test, and this area of southern Utah where they shot the movie, John Wayne was one of the stars. He was playing Genghis Khan or something like that. I think it's considered one of the worst movies of all times. Mm-hmm. And a significant number of people who were part of that production team for shooting that movie subsequently died of cancer. Now, I'm not saying there was a direct link, but statistically it was a high number of people, because that area where they were shooting the movie, there was all sort of dust that was being kicked up that was quite contaminated. And again, you have to understand what you're dealing with different isotopes and the half-lives of, obviously, plutonium is extremely dangerous, but there's a lot of things that are in nuclear reactors or atomic weapons. And so when they get into the atmosphere, there's a lot of different things you need to be concerned about, some more than others.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, yes, and you knew I was going to drag you down the UFO rabbit hole eventually. Yes. Because, like you said in your book, even the presidents, when they come into office, are interested in, what do we know?
Yeah, I've said for many, many decades that those of us in the mainstream media should look at this topic as objectively as we would report on any other topic. And early in my career, I know that a lot of reporters would just offhand just ridicule it, right? And I never thought that we should treat it that way. I would say after many, many decades of looking into this topic and researching it and talking to some of the top UFO experts over many decades, I take the subject seriously. I'm still agnostic. I don't think we've had a smoking gun that definitively proves alien visitation. But there are certainly a lot of really interesting unsolved questions out there, and they may have a perfectly rational explanation. And I go into a little bit of this as well in my book, and I think you can see a picture of it there in the background. Let me try to. Yeah. This is the advanced reader copy, but there will be a hardback coming out in early June from Kent State University Press. So there's my my pitch for Behind the White House Curtain.
Hey, make sure to buy it. It's a great book.
Yeah.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and like I said, I'm on 18, I think.
Stop reading.
I know. I noticed that. I'm sorry about that. Sorry, I'll get down.
I'm not gonna read from Sherman.
Don't put it near your nose.
I'm just gonna have to. I'm gonna have to mute this. Where's this thing?
No, you're fine.
That was speaking of audio problems. One thing in your book, I actually was surprised you use Audacity like I do, and I'm like, somebody that high up the food chain and that is this far advanced uses Audacity. So,
Yeah, I like Audacity because it's sort of quick and easy. Most of the time when I'm not out in the field and my desktop computers, we use Adobe Audition. But usually when I'm editing it for audio is quite simple, and so Audacity has been a fairly easy and reliable program.
oh yeah, it's great. That's when I read that, I went back and read it again. I'm like, holy cow, maybe I am doing something right. And I took some of your notes to heart about the windscreen because I've got a new mic and it's driving me absolutely crazy. And some other things about how you did things. I liked you referring to them as a fishing pole on the microphone on a fishing pole that was out in front of you so far. So I liked your, I guess the way you described it, it was great. Getting back to Roswell, I don't think, this is just me thinking, but as many galaxies and universes that we have discovered just through the Hubble spacecraft and, the exploration, I kind of think we'd be stupid to think we're the only ones out there. I mean, what do you
Agreed.
think?
Yeah, well, I think if you speak to most scientists, whether they're astrophysicists or rocket engine designers, they would say, of course, with that number of galaxies and the number of planets we're now discovering, there is almost certainly life out there. But again, are we talking about carbon-based life? Are we talking about something that may exist on one of the moons of Jupiter, in a so-called ocean? The wide definition of life out there, but of course the rebuttal to that is if you're talking about carbon-based life forms traveling these fantastic distances across space, that becomes a little bit more challenging. And I've been reading a lot about what if we end up sending anybody from this planet over to Mars, the toll that will take on the human body in terms of what happens to your muscles and talking about exposure to radiation, whether anybody would really be able to go to Mars and live on Mars or come back, because and you can it'd be great to have on your programs an astronaut who's been to space, been on the space station or whatever, and they can tell you just staying on the space station for 3 months or 6 months what that does to your body. And so one theory is that if there's intergalactic travel, that the so-called beings that are coming here may be more robot than human, or well, they wouldn't be human, but robot than a living being. There's also a lot of very fascinating studies out there now, if you look at physics and string theory and those sort of things. So obviously overcoming this obstacle of going faster than the speed of light, for most of us, that it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, right? But spooky action at a distance, which Einstein talked about, and things like that. So Is it possible to get over the speed of light? What I like to say to people is, if you brought somebody from the 13th century into our world today, they would not be, except for maybe a latter genius such as Leonardo da Vinci, they would not be able to comprehend or understand the things that we're doing like this right now. We're in different parts of the country. We could be in different parts of the world, and we're communicating two-way instantaneously, virtually, except for the speed of light, and able to see each other. It's an incredible technology that people, 150 years ago, could not have imagined. So, we just don't know.
Well, that's one thing that I've thought about often is, if we've now got the rover on Mars, the people that designed the helicopter, which is now apparently non-functional, how did they know? Because we know by Earth standards, you got gravitational lift, thrust, force to, move an aircraft. How did they know what to do on Mars? That blows my mind, that somebody thought about that. I mean, that's a calculation that seems to me would be impossible, because aircraft is quite complicated just here on Earth, just getting an airplane up off the ground.
Right. They have to factor in the difference in gravity and the atmospheric density and all that for Mars.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then now our other passion, the transmissions, the radio transmissions and stuff, that fascinates me. I love listening to all of the transmissions that come back from the astronauts or space shuttles. I try and get to when they fly over, I try and listen, but that always fascinates me, that they're so far away, and yet
well, that's one thing that I see the mistake being made for creative effect in some science fiction movies, where they're on another planet and they're talking to the control center here on Earth, and there's a delay of half a second. No, it would be a delay of many minutes. The farther out you get, it would be many hours. But of course, we don't want to sit in the movie theater for 8 minutes to wait for the answer to come back. It'd be a pretty boring movie.
Yeah.
It's like the old dial-up modems. Well, let's see. I also, speaking of aircraft, Air Force One, Air Force Two, they have always impressed me. And they're such beautiful birds. And you had the pleasure of riding on one. The first time you got on that, how did you feel? You're like a kid in school. I would have been giddy.
Well, when we're on that plane, and I have lost count of how many flights I did on Air Force One. It was I'm sure it was more than 100 during those years. But the very first time, we're working, right? And so, and when I was on the plane, I was the radio pull reporter. I have to be able, within a few seconds, to fire up my equipment to record the voice of the president or the press secretary should they come back to the cabin, or some other VIP. So I am not able to relax when I'm on the plane, especially with President Trump. He would come back a lot and talk to us, and we sometimes would get no warning. And so, of course, this would usually happen when I had a full tray of food and some hot tea, and within about 2 seconds, I'd have to figure out how to get this off the tray off. And I mean, it's just a nightmare. I still have bad memories of those things happening. So you're the first time or two that you're on the plane, you're just trying to orient yourself as like how I need to get everything done. But sometimes we'd have a flight back in the evening, and by the way, the food is pretty good. It's served. The U.S. Air Force is in charge, as you know, with military food. It's not the worst branch of the military when it comes to food. The best, of course, I can say. I think objectively here is the U.S. Navy. because you need to keep morale high when you're at sea or on submarines. But I'll say the Air Force is number 2, and we'll leave it at that. And won't talk about the Army and Marine Corps food. The good thing is you can order something special, and if they have time, they'll whip it up for you. You can even on Air Force One during most administrations, you can order an adult beverage if the day is over and you're heading back home. Air Force Two with Mike Pence was a dry plane, by the way. I guess some people maybe smuggled it in a canteen or something like that. There is a way to watch movies. The favorite of the press corps, for some reason, was Jaws, even during the Trump administration. It's better with the sound off these days than with the sound on. And there's about a dozen music channels you can listen to. I always like Big Country the best. But it does not compare to, say, the entertainment selection that you now have in economy class and most of your commercial flights, because these are old airplanes. Remember, they've upgraded a lot of the communication systems, and there's all sorts of gizmos on the plane. But it has not been upgraded with a screen in the back of your seat like it is on most of the airlines now.
That's great. Yeah.
But you do get silverware with real china and forks and knives and spoons. None of you don't get the plastic stuff. And
China. Ooh, I wouldn't have guessed that. Oh,
I wouldn't have either.
break one of them.
the only thing I've taken from Air Force One, we get the M&Ms, the souvenir M&Ms, and that was here's a good trivia question. How did M&Ms end up on Air Force One? If you read the book closely, you would know this. This was Nancy Reagan's doing. She banned smoking on Air Force One.
Okay, yeah,
So
I remember the smoking thing.
The cigarette packs and the matches were replaced with M&Ms.
He liked jelly beans, didn't he?
Yes, but I think those were in the Oval Office, not on Air Force One.
Yeah, you don't give good candy out to the visitors, so. And one thing I did like pretty early in the description of Air Force One, you commented that there was no, I forget what movie it was, that they put the president in this ball of steel and they ejected him from the Air Force plane. You said that right up first. Oh, there's none of that.
No.
There are some secret things on Air Force One. I think they mainly deal with anti-jamming devices to make sure somebody can't fly a missile into the plane, and they may have some other capabilities if the plane comes under hostile fire and that sort of thing. It can be refueled in flight, although we're told that has never happened, but it can be done.
Okay. Oh, no, you would have a wild QSL card if you're an aeronautical mobile from there. That would be.
I had ham radio equipment on there, right? Right.
Yeah.
We were this obviously above 10,000 feet. The cell phones don't work, and on the smaller planes that are used as Air Force One, as soon as they close those doors, you lose all cell phone service. Which, if I was trying to upload some audio from the president who had just spoken under the wing, I would just stand on the back stairs and pray and hope that with my Wi-Fi cell connection, that I could upload the audio before they forced us to get inside the plane and close the doors. So as I said, it's kind of stressful if you're working when you're getting on the plane. But no, I never operated any ham radio on the aircraft. We're not supposed to take pictures inside, and we do not have access to Wi-Fi except in extraordinary circumstances, they'll give us a password and let us on.
Wow. Yeah, that to me would be the ultimate. As a flight paramedic, I used to take my 2 meter up, and I'd hop on the Simplex, and every now and then it'd be aeronautical mobile, and I had some great contacts and some cool times. In the middle of the night, we're coming back from somewhere, and I'm bored. I'd ask the pilot, "Hey, can I turn it on?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, go right ahead. Mind if I come back and play?" So
I do recall this would have been probably the late 1970s, being allowed to operate aeronautical mobile on 2 meter FM with my ham radio, and handy talkie HT. But again, that was a different era before 9/11 and all that. We used to be able to get permission to do that. And so if I had a window seat, I usually was able to talk to somebody on 146.52 simplex, or, key up a bunch of repeaters.
Mhm.
well, they didn't like that. If you do that, queue them up from Vegas to Sacramento.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was.
Uh,
Most of the people here on this channel really don't know that much about me and my amateur radio hobby. So I don't hide it or anything. Just it's one of the things that I haven't talked about. But yeah, that would be a cool thing to do. But it's probably a Faraday cage if I had to guess.
Probably.
Well, yeah, as I said, we could still use the cell phones up to 10,000 feet, and then you would just,
Yeah.
lose the signal.
Mhm.
So during 9/11, where were you assigned at? You weren't at the White House at that time.
I was not working as a journalist full time at that time. I was actually in Hong Kong in a business
Oh.
dinner when that all happened. It was pretty surreal.
I can imagine seeing it from another country. Yeah, knowing it's home. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be scary. If you had any advice to anyone, a kid listening today that wants to be a journalist and wants to get aboard Air Force One and do things like this, what would your advice be to them?
Well, you definitely need to study journalism. Definitely, the sooner the better. I started on my junior high school newspaper at Fremont Junior High in Las Vegas, and then worked on the school paper in high school, and then started working part-time at radio stations in Las Vegas while I was still in high school. So get some training as early as you can. Try to get hired as early as you can at a broadcast outlet or a newspaper. But I would also say you do not need to major in journalism in college. In fact, if you're trying to break into the business, most journalism isn't the type of journalism that I do, very mainstream and broad. It's very specialized. There are people that cover the automotive industry or the pharmaceutical industry, things like that. Business journalism is huge these days, probably pays better than other forms of journalism. You have, Bloomberg out there and Reuters and, all these radio programs that focus on business. So, if you study business, or you have studied pharmacology, or something that's basically, if people are out there making big money with it, the journalism that's attached to that is going to be rather lucrative. So if you're doing medical journalism, for example, you have to understand the terminology, right? And you have to be able to write for experts, and of course, your audience are in that field would be people with MDs and PhDs and things like that. So you really need to be on top of your game and fairly knowledgeable. So I think the key really is to go with whatever your passion is, and if I always said journalism to me was like a calling. It was in my blood. You don't have to take vows of celibacy to be a journalist, obviously, but you come sometimes close to taking vows of poverty. It is shocking how little entry-level jobs pay at the remaining newspapers in this country, as well as the entry-level jobs in television stations. And unless you're willing to stick with it for very low pay and try to work your way up the ladder, it can be tough. And I understand that a lot of people give it up and decide to go into, a related field, perhaps public relations, something like that. And then a lot of journalists these days, I think, January last month was a terrible month for journalism in this country. We had hundreds and hundreds of very, very fine journalists who were laid off from their jobs because they're, like the Messenger went out of business, the Wall Street Journal laid off people, the Washington Post. Just yesterday, CBS News, I think, was here in Washington, D.C. 20 people were cut from the newsroom, a restructuring of Paramount Global. So it is a tough field. You really, really have to want to do it because the obstacles, they're not insurmountable, but they're challenging. There are hurdles.
Absolutely. Yeah. You described in your book that the VOA has the obligation or duty to, for the lack of better terms of what my radio co-host uses, up the middle, that you can't be left, you can't be right. You hear so much now about your fake news, or you're on the right, or you're on the left. I remember my grandfather, he was a merchant marine, and back during World War II, and he told me as a child, he said, if you want to know the real news, turn on your shortwave radio. He's actually the one that got me interested in that. He says, listen to the VOA. He says, you'll get the real news there. He says, return to some of the other countries. You'll hear more about what's going on over here that's truthful than what they're telling you. So there's always been that great divide. Why is that? Why is it so divisive?
I think one aspect of it is most news organizations are in the business to make money, right? There are very few that are not. And what the owners of these outlets have discovered is people, whether on the left and on the right, they want their views reconfirmed, and if their views are challenged, a lot of people will tune out. I noticed that when I came back in the United States after 25 years abroad, just how divisive the country had become, and the media was reflecting that as well. Now, the Voice of America, we have a particular mission. We have 48 language services. We broadcast from the United States, television, radio, and online, to the rest of the world. We're telling people in Swahili and in Chinese and Korean and Ukrainian and Russian what is going on here in the United States and the rest of the world. And we have a charter which mandates, as I like to say, we're probably the only news organization in the world that is required by law to be unbiased and to reflect what's going on in America. And so if the administration is taking a particular point of view on something, we will find a member of the opposition party, a senator, a congressman, to interview. If we're getting an analyst, say, on the issue, trying to explain the issue, say, of abortion to people in other countries, we will have quotes from people on both sides of the issue. Some administrations have not liked this. They have thought, well, if this is part of the federal government, it should reflect the views of my administration, and I should be able to tell them what to do. Well, there's a firewall between us and even the bosses of our parent agency. They cannot come into the newsroom and tell us to report something or not to report something or to spin it a certain way. I've been reporting for VOA for more than 20 years overseas and back at home. And I can assure you, no one has, ever said, oh, you can't, this subject is taboo or you have to spin this a certain way. If that had been the case, I would have been out of VOA a long time ago. I'm a former Associated Press reporter. And, and when people claim that VOA is propaganda or it's biased in favor or against any particular administration, I say go to our website, voanews.com, read the stories, and then tell me what's off, what's wrong. That doesn't mean we're perfect. Mistakes do happen from time to time. We take it very seriously. We do not broadcast to or target Americans, but U.S. citizens are stakeholders as taxpayers. And so all of the content and all of the languages is available online, and people can go look at it. And, if they don't like something I'm reporting or the way I'm reporting it, they can complain to my bosses about it.
Oh, well, I worked for a government agency. The public will tell you I'm your boss then.
Well, the public is one of the stakeholders of VOA, most definitely, but they're not our intended audience.
Do they still do the shortwave broadcasts?
There are still shortwave broadcasts in certain parts of the world. We have some overseas shortwave facilities. I visited one of them up in Thailand near the Laotian border. There's a station on Tinian, I believe, in the Marianas Islands. The only domestic broadcasting facility is in North Carolina. And there's one off the coast of Africa. I believe there's one in Kuwait, and there may be another one in the Middle East somewhere. But the shortwave is a very small portion of what VOA does. On radio and television, we rely on affiliate stations. And I think we have more than 100 in Indonesia, for example. And we do have some standalone FM stations in some of the major capitals in Africa. And there's some medium wave AM transmissions as well. And then we're on a lot of our language services. I think the majority of them are doing television as well. So that's on satellite TV. Because, of course, we cannot get affiliates in China or Russia or Iran or North Korea. So for North Korea, there's medium wave and short wave in Korean. And for Iran, there's satellite television, China as well. And we have a joint 24/7 joint venture with Radio Free Europe, which is called Current Time. That's broadcasting in Russian. It may be a little bit challenging to see in Russia, but there are many countries around Russia where everyone or most people understand Russian, and the Russians bombard these countries with their broadcasts, and of course there's no free press left in Russia. So what we're doing pales in comparison to the amount of material coming out of Russia. But our programming in Eastern Europe in Russian and some of the other languages from the surveys that I've seen is very popular.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I think that that was where I first learned what the Voice of America was. And I know the internet and the new technology is taking all that away, but I would be remiss if I didn't say that I did like that growing up as a child. In DC, we had more than one channel growing up, but I was not allowed to watch that much TV. I was given a radio and said, "Here, listen." So I learned to love baseball by listening to the Baltimore Orioles. I learned to get the news from shortwave and AM radio. So, and my dad was a country and western disc jockey, so that didn't hurt.
Ah, great.
Before we let you go, any personal anecdotes that you just really, or any bonds or anything that happened to you that you really will always remember or take with you as cherished memories from your time at the White House?
Just that it was, I never took it for granted. It was a privilege to go into the White House every single day, and I felt very privileged, even in the face of some adversity, to cover the entirety of the Trump administration. It was a very unusual administration. It was very, very different. I did not cover the Obama administration. I did cover the last 8 months of that administration from the State Department, traveling with John Kerry, who was Secretary of State. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about covering it from the inside. I chose to leave it after because I felt I was getting a little burned out, and I just did a story today, as a matter of fact, based on something Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, said at the White House. I filed a piece for radio on that. So as the chief national correspondent, I've got a little bit bigger mandate than the White House, but it was. When I first got into this business, and I worked for Associated Press, and I tell people the AP is like the Marine Corps of journalism. If you can hack it at the AP or any wire service, Reuters, AFP, Bloomberg, you can probably do any job in journalism. And the one thing is, ironically, I guess I should mention, it's actually, even for a freelance journalist, if you're willing to show up on a regular basis, you can get what's called an appointment pass, a daily pass to go in and cover the White House and be in there. And there are a number of colorful figures over many, many administrations who are there that seem to have somewhat dubious ties to what we would call journalism, who hang out there. And there are reporters from local media that show up from time to time as well. And there are 49 seats in the briefing room. Doesn't mean you're going to get a seat if you get an appointment pass, but if you do get an appointment pass, you can stand on the sidelines, and there's a chance the press secretary may call on you. So I tell people it's probably easier to get a White House press pass than one for the Sioux Falls Fire Department.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. Well, we'll be remiss also if I don't ask you one other thing. We have heard all these stories about growing up, had heard them about Mount Vernon as well. The haunted areas. Did you ever see anything out of the ordinary at the White House?
I never saw anything of what I would call paranormal nature in the White House. Of course, there are lots of stories about the Lincoln bedroom being haunted. But I think one way or another, there are a lot of ghosts in the White House.
Yeah, I agree there. Well, I don't want to keep you. You came on early, so I'm going to let you get out of here and get to bed.
I'm getting up at 4:30 to go into Washington, downtown Washington. Yes.
Oh, well, hopefully your drive's not too bad. I know DC traffic sucks. But...
I do not drive the whole way. My house is in Virginia, so I rely on the VRE, the Virginia Rail Express, which is a great system. But you just have to be very disciplined because it only operates certain hours in one direction and then certain hours coming back. So you got to watch the time if you're commuting on the VRE.
Yeah, that's much further out in the suburbs than Metro. So yeah.
Well, Metro has expanded out pretty good, way out to Herndon and Ashburn and stuff now.
Yeah, Metro is pretty extensive, but down where I live, there's no Metro. You drive, take a bus, hook up with some other commuters, or the VRE.
I know Metro actually is planning to come up Route 1 into Mount Vernon, which blows me away. When I was a kid, that was just a 4-lane highway, barely. You know?
Well, I don't know if you know this. There was quite an extensive streetcar system in and out of the district. I guess it probably lasted until the late 1950s or so. And I was reading about that, and there were a lot more trains as well from out in what we now would call the suburbs that went into DC. But the automobile changed all that.
Oh yeah, well, just like technology is changing everything else. So, I don't know what your feelings are on AI, but I think it's going to rule the world one day.
Well, one thing that I always say is, there's good and bad to any sort of emerging technology. And then at the very beginning, it's probably hyped a little bit too much, and we're probably warned about it a little bit too much. So, what was it last year, 2 years ago on the Super Bowl? There were all the crypto coin commercials, right? And there were none this year. And so I think next year, maybe all the Super Bowl commercials will either be about AI or written by AI. So it's definitely creeping up on us. And I can tell you for transcribing, it's a fantastic tool. But like any emerging technology, caveat emptor, as they say.
Well, Steve, thank you for coming on. I know you were a little bit hesitant when you were like, well, what does paranormal talk about? We talk about a little bit of everything. So I don't want to pin you down and make you, just talk about one thing, because your life has got so much to it. The book is great. I highly recommend it to everyone. I'll give you a great Amazon review when and if you get on Amazon.
Well, the book is on can be pre-ordered everywhere. So yeah, you're one of the few who has an advanced copy of it. So yeah, please do leave a review. We would certainly appreciate that.
I believe I just found it on Amazon.
Great.
Yep.
Buy it. And I know somebody is going to ask in the audience, make sure to tell, if someone wanted to buy an autographed copy from you, how would they get that?
What I do is I in the old days, you used to send the book to the author and then they would send you the book back. Now we can mail out what are called book plates. It's a little piece of paper and I can sign those. So if anybody does, if you send me proof of pre-order, I will send you at my cost an autographed a book plate. And you can find me on the different social media platforms. I'm on Mastodon, Threads. I'm sort of it's a long story, but I'm dormant on Twitter right now. We've had some fun with Twitter in recent years. And I think you're well, you can find a way to send me a message on social media, and I'll reply.
Aside from the book, anything else exciting coming up in your life that you want to talk about or tell anybody about?
I've been thrilled on a part-time basis to start teaching journalism. I taught a class a couple semesters ago at the University of Richmond, and I'm an adjunct assistant professor now at Shenandoah University in Winchester, Virginia. And I'm hoping to do more of that. I think it's really important to get into the classroom, teach not only journalism, but media literacy as well. And I'm going to try to give back more in the future in that regard. So Send your kids to college.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. You're giving back to the community, and hopefully we can get journalism to return more to the middle, so there's not so much divisiveness. I hate turning it on, even so. But
I've been very fortunate to work for Voice of America and previous to that the Associated Press, and I've been very, very lucky in that regard to occupy these positions.
Very good. Steve, thanks. I'm going to keep in touch with you just because.
Please do.
I really enjoyed your book, and maybe we can hook up some time on ham radio. So
I'm quite active. I'm on the digital modes FT8, FT4. I've even worked a little meteor scatter, and I get on for some of the contests too. My call sign for the other hams out there is W7VOA. So, and if you're a ham and you have the call sign, you can pretty much figure out how to contact somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, are you on DMR?
I'm not on DMR. I'm on another internet linking mode called IRLP.
Familiar with that? Yep.
Yeah, I haven't. I played with DMR some, and I kind of liked it. It was kind of cool. So, and I was introducing it to my kids. So, all right, man, I could talk all night to you. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much. I'm going to recommend your book to everybody and anybody, especially the kids growing up that want to learn about journalism. Yours is a fascinating story. So thank you for everything you've done for us. I appreciate it.
It has been a pleasure. And Deanna, Mike, thank you. It's been a pleasure to meet you as well.
It was appreciated hearing from you again. It was awesome. I also put the link from the Amazon pre-order link to the private there. Glenn, if you want to see it, maybe put it on the regular stream. It's up to you on that one.
Yeah, I see it. Okay. All right. I can do that. All right. Well, Steve, I'm going to let you go. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Good
Bye-bye,
night.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was great.
It was neat listening to him down in College Park. One of the things he brought up, because we were talking about the shortwave, was it's hard to find shortwave equipment. So some of the radio stations have to fabricate their own parts, because shortwave was all vacuum tube and stuff like that, and there's not a whole lot of up-to-date commercial stuff for shortwave now.
No, I hadn't thought of that. That's true.
So I mean, it could be a dying breed. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff out there, but that's something I haven't. I don't know. You look at HF equipment for ham stuff. There's not a lot of new stuff out there. There is a little bit, but there's still the old stuff's still working.
Yeah, the old stuff's still working. Plus, some of it is so expensive now for the stuff. So,
right,
it's not for just a hobbyist. It seems like that used to everything was designed for the hobbyist, and now it seems like we've got more commercial.
And we're only like at 100 watts, 200s without an amp. These things are like megawatts and kilowatts or something like that.
Exactly. Well, Mike, I'm glad you hopped in here too.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I like talk when he was talking down there, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, no problem. I knew Andy messaged me earlier and said he needed to remind you. I said, well, I'd already thought about it, but I've got 10 million things going on in the background, so thank you.
Yeah, he definitely kept me updated. I got back, and here we are.
Good. You going to try and join us on Saturday for the Misfits?
I might. I'm not sure what we got going on this Saturday. I'll just need I'll have Andy send me a reminder. How's that?
That'd be cool.
He's good at keeping us on our toes.
Yeah,
I need
exactly.
to do a favor with Andy.
Okay.
We've got to find him a silent keyboard.
Silent keyboard. Okay. You know what? He probably needs a headset. Is probably what he needs.
Yes, he does.
I think he needs something like this, if not a little small, like what you have there.
Yeah,
he definitely does. But I don't know what he's doing when we're muted, but you could hear ka-chunk, because I listened to the audio back, and as you know, when you split audio and video, the audio gets higher. And I'm like, oh, what was that? So, yeah, that's true.
That or something. I think he's using just the microphone that's on his laptop. So we need to get him maybe a noise canceling or something like that. I'll see if I can find something.
Yeah,
All right.
that'd be
Good
cool.
luck, man. All right. Well, Mike, you got anything you want to talk about, or anybody you want to tell? Something going on exciting in your world?
Not much exciting at all. Just our normal work stuff. I am getting more into GMRS more. If people are familiar with that, it's General Mobile Radio Services. It is only it's 22 channels, but only 8 channels of there are specific for GMRS. The rest of it is called FRS for family radio. Family radio is low watt. It's 2 watts, narrow band, and you don't need a license for that. But the GMRS is up to 50 watts. That's wide band. You do need a license for that. But I noticed, we have some old repeaters that have been up for years, and all of a sudden people are jumping on. I mean, it used to be you had to ask people's permission, but no one's doing it anymore. But very few people really care. A lot of people are like, yeah, come on. So we had to adopt that because we're not going to get out of that. There's no way to control that. But everybody that's on is pretty cool, pretty decent. But go ahead.
Nice.
No. Yeah, you ought to figure out how to get GMRS on Zello, because some of the channels I listen to are GMRS.
And so there is a lot of stuff. Keysby 700 out of New Jersey is on GMRS. As long as Zello, which you saw, as long as they're keeping the free version of the PC app working, we'll be able to do it. I noticed that it's hard. I can't find the software anymore. Only from the one that I have. It's still operating. Because I broadcast a few stuff. Our fire channels are on Zello, and I got like 80 people listen to that. And it's more whenever there's an actual incident going on, they fire it up. But the Zello at work, I took the free portion or the free test to try it, and it's okay, but it does not interface with the personal. So you are limited to the people who are paying to be in your group. And it's just like the old Nextels where if you want to connect to someone else's group, you can do that, but it can't be personal. They have to be the paid person. So I'm a little down about that because that's what I use here is the PC app. Plus, I can have the PC app here. I can do it right through my headset, do it through a laptop, but you need that app to be able to interface with the radio. You can build your own interface, which I have. It's real easy to do. Or you can buy the pre-made ones. They're pretty expensive. But you have to have that PC app on the free personal side. And I'm afraid that that's going to go away. And I meant to respond. Someone has sent me an email from Zello saying, how is your free version? And I'm going to be like, okay, but my friends, my hobbyists are not going to be able to afford to do this. So it's pointless, but I still need to. I would rather pay to have them keep some of the personal, the free personal side. I'll pay them to keep the interface going. I pay them for the software just so everybody in Freeland can still listen and play and use and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But I don't know if that option is available yet or not. Well, it's not, but hopefully they'll do something with that.
Like a group option or something.
Because we have tons of groups on there. NCR's got it and great, but I still want to be able to, like I said, I will pay to have those enhancements work on the personal side. I'm not gonna pay a lot, but I'll pay what they're asking for in the Zello at work.
Yeah.
They like everything else, they can $10 and $20 to death. Go, oh well, for $12 a month, you can have that.
Yeah,
I know. And I almost like for right now until it dies. There you go. But when it's getting ready to, be sunsetted, I guess, then I'm willing to pay it just to keep that app going because it started out as a little hobby just for a couple of us to do, and now the whole world, there's tons of people that are using it.
Yeah.
But the GMRS, back to that real quick, that took off, and I asked somebody, I said, this is like blew up overnight. It's a lot of the dealing with the preppers. A lot of those have gone to it.
Okay.
And then repeaters are popping up everywhere. I was listening to repeaters down in Dulles, and I was listening to them. A guy in Frederick was talking to Dulles, and he's like, I was on my repeater talking to the local guys, and they were down in there saying, "I can't hear you. We got interface, blah blah blah, interference. I'm sorry, and this is a problem, blah blah." So I got worried because they were on different tone code, different frequency. But when I got down to College Park, I'm like, "Who owns that?" And it was Mick. Remember Mick?
Mhm.
I forget his last name, but it's like it's mine. I said, "I feel better because I know someone's there." So I just want to let you know what I ran into. I have something on 700. It's been there for 20 years. But as long as that interfere with you guys, I'm glad. I'm not going to move it, but I'm just letting you know it's there. If we're having some communication, I'll try to limit the time frame. But apparently, it's not the problem. It's just that one guy in Frederick that was keying down. But all the people that are down there say it's no big deal at all. So I can't control the guy in Frederick. But we're still spaced enough. We're spaced enough, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you're always going to have that guy.
We only have 8 frequency pairs, and there's like 11 repeaters within my radio earshot, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, all right. Well, cool. Well, I think I'm gonna cut our show out a little bit early tonight because we've talked a lot. Before we got our first guest, I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll email me, and I'm gonna bet since this was scheduled so far back in December, he just forgot. So I hope that's the case, but
I'm sure that's what it is.
We'll see. Yeah, I still want to try and get him on, and I didn't want to talk to Steve the entire hour and a half ish of nothing but UFOs because I know that's not his his cup of tea, but I'm glad that he at least let us touch on it. So
yeah,
Dina, where can we find you? You got another show coming up this week?
Saturday night, Misfits.
That's right. And I think I've picked a topic for us. I think on the Misfits we're going to do time traveling. We're going to go back to the 80s. If you could change one thing in the 80s, now I want to change a war or anything. I want something funny.
Okay.
One thing in the 80s, TV show or something about your life, a funny anecdotal story, whatever. What would it be?
All right.
I think the 80s are like the perfect decade. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I would change something, it would be in the 90s. So for me, I mean, I started bringing stuff in the 80s, but the 90s is definitely where I could find some
music.
change.
So music.
Yeah, there's better music in the 80s. I say that as I want to remind you, Mike, you need to listen tomorrow from 12 to 2, Thin Line Rock radio station. This guy is going to be spinning. That's right.
12 to 2. Let me write that down then.
Yeah.
12
to 2. Yeah, keep it posted. I'll have Andy send out a group message over.
Yeah, he'll definitely keep us updated.
The radio, yeah, because I'm excited about that. That's my first time spinning records and being a DJ. So I'm going to suck. Don't be too harsh on me. I'm just learning. Night Brenda, Night Wendell, Night Warren. So I'm hoping that it goes pretty good, but I'll tell you off screen a lot about the technology sometime on that. Wow, that blew me away. The technology to run a radio station from a distance.
Right.
Cool. It's kind of cool. So yeah, so I'm spinning the hits tomorrow, spinning some classic rock actually, and I'm digging it. So everybody make sure to tune us in. We want to thank Yerg's Radio. That's YERGZradio.com. You can listen to his station. His station is predominantly talk, but he allows us to come in here and have 3 shows a week. Who is complaining to Brenda?
I don't know what's going on. Thanks. Hi there. Say hi. No. Kiss my ass, Brenda. I don't know.
She's on new meds.
Okay, good night, Brenda. Hi, Brenda. Good night.
Hi, bye. Whatever. Yeah, so it was fascinating. YergsRadio.com. Check them out. They primarily are talk radio, but it's pretty good stuff because I'm on there, you know. Then I'm also on WDJY in Atlanta, Saturday nights. Actually, Friday nights at 9, Saturday nights at 9, and Sunday nights at 9. I think that's correct. maybe it's 6 on Saturday and Sunday. I don't know. I've got it all screwed up. But WDJY, check them out. And we're now on Radio Fairfax from 8 in the morning to 9 in the morning every Wednesday. And that's also on cable channel 37. So it's kind of weird hours. But hey, I'll take it. I'll be a morning DJ. So, but that's where you can find us. But yeah, check out the Rock and Roll tomorrow. And I want some input. I want some feedback. I want to be honest about it. So. What did she say? Brenda says she got high on rain. Brenda's got some problems. I don't know. Maybe she needs to tune into Canadian Prepper. I don't.
She's singing now.
Oh, yeah, she's got new drugs. So, once again, I appreciate it, everybody. The show went really well. I was glad Steve got in a little early, so he got him to bed. I would have never asked him to go on this, but no. So,
oh, Laura couldn't stay awake. I don't know what the hell.
Yeah, you're just old.
Oh, no, I'm just damn sleepy.
Good night, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Night.